All of our candid answers to your candid questions coming up next. Welcome to this month's Coffee Chat, where Larry and I spill the tea while we drink coffee. This month we ask any questions that you wanted us to answer. You left your questions in the community tab, and we're going to answer as many of those questions as possible in the next 30 minutes or so. But if you don't know us, I'm Hope.
And I'm Larry.
This is Under the Median, where practical frugality meets real life.
And real life is what we're drinking. And we're drinking some really good Seattle's Best toasted hazelnut. Oh, is that ever good? That is very tasty coffee.
And for those of you wanting to know, yes, we got it on sale. It was BOGO. This was a BOGO deal. Buy one, get one free. Usually we try to have small local roasters with small batch coffees on Coffee Chat. We didn't have any today, so we're drinking the Seattle's Best, which definitely is not a small company. But we had some amazing coffee from a coffee company from Indiana on our vacation. Our vacation video is coming up a little later this month, so make sure you're watching for that video coming up in just a couple of weeks. First question is from RG. I'd be interested to hear a bit about where your viewers are located. I'm in the UK and only recently discovered your channel. Welcome to the channel, RG. We're happy to have you. The answer is 75% of our viewers come from the United States. 6.5% are from Canada, our Canadian friends. UK, 4%, and Australia, 3%. And then there's a lot of other countries under there that are smaller percentages, but those are our top four.
That's Gold Jerry would like to know, we love to hear Larry's experience on his transition to retirement. Did he struggle at first finding things to fill his time, or feel more tempted to fill the time since not being at work? Well, I spent the entire last year that I was working looking forward to being retired. I think every day I talked about it. I couldn't wait to retire, and I was very ready to do so. So that would be my first thing that I would suggest for anybody that's getting close to retirement. Make sure you're really ready to take that step. There wasn't much of a transition that I felt after I retired because I'm still helping Hope quite a bit with this channel and producing programs and help her write some and that kind of thing. So I'm pretty busy with that. I'm also busy riding my bike. I ride that almost every day, and I'll go out and take a 20 or 30 mile bike ride. So it's pretty substantial that I'll take a 90-minute to 2 hours out of each day to do that. I also help out with chores around the house, laundry, dishes, that kind of thing. So I don't feel like I'm wasting any time. I've also been busy at church. I play the piano, and so I have to practice that and go to practices and so on. So I don't feel like I'm just on idle time, not doing anything. When I have some spare time, I read. I really enjoy reading. So that's what I'm doing, and I really recommend retirement to everyone.
All right, Tammy Brantley wants to know, my job was eliminated at the end of June. I have 3 months of subsidized insurance from work. She wants to know about insurance and what we did. When Larry retired, he worked for our city in which we live, and they offered us a package where we could continue the medical insurance for the kids and I, and we chose to do that. We did sort of look at some other options and determine whether there was any advantage to going with a different policy, but really honestly, at the end of the day, they all came up to be pretty much the same thing. Now, she also wanted to know about boutique doctors. I have no personal experience with boutique doctors, but I do know that there's a doctor's office about 20, 25 minutes from us that is a boutique office. So what that means is you pay like a certain amount per year, and then all of your visits are free. You also can get some reduced priced medications if you need that sort of thing. So my honest reaction is you need to make sure before you would join something like that, you know exactly what's included, what's not included, how many visits you can have, that sort of thing. Make sure you know the pros and cons, run all the math, run the numbers, and determine whether that's a good deal for you and your family.
And of course, figure the cost into your budget. That has to be done too. Alita Sue wants to know, in our family, I'm the tosser, and my husband has a hard time getting rid of things. Are you both minimalists or hoarders or something in between?
That depends on your definition of minimalism and hoarding, I think.
Yeah, I don't think we're hoarders. I think we're probably in between that. We have a lot of stuff. I'm really ready to get rid of my stuff. I'm getting ready now just to donate it or to sell it or whatever. I really don't care. I'm not that attached. I've gotten rid of a large collection of TVs and radios that I used to have. I had no problem doing that at all. I was glad to see them go. So, like I say, I think we're kind of in between that. We need to work a little bit more on cleaning more out.
So I think the older that you get, the more you do kind of realize your kids don't want all this crap. Yeah. They just don't.
No, they don't.
And we look at each other periodically. We're like, should we get rid of this? And I'm like, the kids don't want all this crap. And so we wind up tossing far more. You kind of need somebody. It's like a check and balance system. You need your partner to be able to look you in the eye and say, nobody wants that. Get rid of it.
Yeah, or don't get real complicated with, I'm going to save this for this person and save this for that person, and I wanted this. No, just get rid of it. Don't make it a big deal. The sooner it's out of your house, the better you'll feel.
Cynthia wants to know, is there something you're considering dropping from your budget? Larry's fun money. Just kidding. Totally kidding.
Not that.
Maybe it suited you before, but now you just don't need it. I don't know. I go back to Larry's fun money. What might you replace it with? Truthfully, our budget is pretty well constructed. If anything, and I know this is like a weird dichotomy because now we're retirement age and we're slowly transitioning to retirement. We are kind of adding some stuff to our budget. Like we just took a really big family vacation and we made sure that was in the budget.
Yeah.
There's some stuff that I think, if anything else, it's not that we're adding stuff or subtracting stuff, we're reprioritizing some things. Mm-hmm. So there are some things in our budget that get a little less money, a little less attention than they used to, and some things that are getting a little more attention.
I would definitely like to see us put a little bit more money toward having fun. And what I mean by having fun is going out and traveling some. Not real far, but maybe just some day trips or 3-day trips, that kind of thing. I enjoy spending time with Hope, and I want some time while we're in our retirement years to enjoy those.
Sue Wright wrote, interesting question. I am from Australia. In our country, there are plenty of farmers, etc. Our government encourages us to buy Australian. Our government doesn't, they encourage us to buy American. I think that's fair. I never hear you encourage your viewers to buy American. Well, part of that is because in 400,000 views a month, 75% are from America, which means 100,000 views every month are not from the United States. So that's part of why we tend to try on the channel to think a little bit more globally. I'm also guessing you're a Christian. Yes, we are. I guess that means that to you, it's more important to be a global Christian than a patriotic American. I think that's a little bit of an either or. I think you can be both, and that's okay. When you compare two products of the same price and quality, do you take into consideration the country where they are produced? Sue Wright from Australia. I don't know. I mean, I think we're pretty pragmatic. We tend to buy stuff that is the best quality for the least expensive price we can get it.
I'll have to say there isn't an awful lot that's just made in America of regular goods. There are some specialized things that are just made in America. So I can't wait to see more things being made in our country. Unfortunately, we've moved a lot of our stuff overseas because it's cheaper to produce in other countries than it is our own. So I don't really see this as a patriotic thing. I see that as just being interested in supporting the country that you're living in. And the thing that was very important to us is supporting local businesses. Mm-hmm. These are businesses that are in your own town, people that you might know, where you can go and support those. We are really big on that. This is from Mert Gert. Have you ever disagreed on what to do financially, and how did you resolve the matter? No, we have never disagreed on anything financially. She laughs at that. You notice that?
When you read this question, my honest first answer was, well, how do we resolve it? We just do whatever I said to do, and it's fine. Of course we disagree on how to do things financially occasionally.
Yeah, we do.
I think for us, it's really a matter of like where the extra money goes. I think we're pretty together on like the basic expenses.
Yes.
But when we have extra money, like he would go take another trip. Honestly, he would love to travel more.
We traveled a lot when I was a kid. That's why.
And so I think figuring out like that hierarchy of needs, like what is most important to us? Is it most important that we replace the HVAC system before we do something else? Those get some, we never have heated discussions, to be honest
Not
with you.
heated,
We may
no,
disagree, but we
no.
do not get into heated discussions.
No.
But we do have a lot of back and forth
Sure.
and multiple conversations sometimes to work through how to reach those financial goals.
Yeah, we simply discuss an issue that we may not come to agreement on immediately. We do come to agreement on it, however, and that's a great way, I think, to resolve issues.
Next question. Cindy would like to know, you've mentioned you have several sinking funds for different bills. Do you have multiple bank accounts, or do you have an envelope system at home for those sinking funds? We track all of it online. All of it is in the bank. We do have a couple of separate accounts. We have a separate account for our car replacement fund. And then we also have a separate account for medical and dental expenses that aren't covered by the policy. So it's like all of our deductibles and things like that. We have a separate account for those because we got hung up a couple of years ago when he needed to have, I think it was 2 root canals and a couple of new crowns. It was sad. It was a sad year. That's where all of our extra money went that year. There was no question about it. No discussion. And I said, I think we need to have a separate account, funnel $100 a month into it until it is at a level that we're really comfortable knowing we can cover those expenses if we need to.
Michelle asks, how do you handle the bill when you're out to eat with friends or family? And she wants to know, like, do we pay for the bill or do we have others pay for it? We just did a thing with our own family where we went out on our vacation, and we did handle the bill. We paid for all the eating out. We paid for the house that we stayed at. We did that as a treat for them. We wanted something very special. But regularly, times that we go out with family or friends, we take turns. We don't go out an awful lot and spend money. But if I go out with a friend, I have a good friend named Joe, we go out and have coffee together or go out to eat. Sometimes he pays and sometimes I pay. We kind of do every other time. The same with another friend that I have. Hope goes out with her girlfriends and they go out and get coffee or tea, and she does the same thing. She might just buy her own. So we just kind of decide, which works the best at that time.
And that money is accounted for. It's in our monthly fund budget, which Larry can keep using as long as he still has it. So we just had that discussion. Just kidding, honey.
It's very important for me to have that.
All right, Ella wants to know, if money were no object, what would your ultimate dream splurge be? I don't know. We don't want a whole lot.
Not really.
I would remodel the upstairs bathroom.
I was going to say,
I don't know.
There are some things around the house. We've been in this house quite a while now. We've been in it for, 15 years. Mm-hmm. And there's some things that need to be done. It would be good to see, like Hope mentioned, remodel the upstairs and downstairs kitchen would be good. But we're not in a screaming hurry for any of that. So if we could splurge there, I think that's where we would probably use the money.
I would splurge on home improvement. Larry would splurge on what? Travel. All right, Larry, go. Sharon wants to know.
Oh, Sharon. Larry, how would you assess my need for battery-operated power? I'm mainly concerned for long-term power outages. Energy company shuts power off if there is a threat of fire. I'm in California. So for the longest time, it's been 5 hours. I have a freezer in the garage and 1 refrigerator freezer in the house. I can manage with everything else. Should I be worried? Thanks. Well, if you're only going to be without power for 5 hours, keep those items closed up and they should be just fine for 5 hours.
Freezers, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. They'll stay cold fine. If you want a little additional power, for long term, and I would consider like 3 days to be long term or a week, I would get a gas generator because power battery generators, they just don't last long enough, and you have to keep those out in the sun and keep charging them. They're not as reliable long term as your gas generator, which you can run that, and then when you're out of gas, you just fill it back up and keep it going. And we've done that when we've been out of power for 3 days. So if you don't need too much power, a small battery operated station might be good for you, like a 1200 watt power station. That might be good for lights, your computer, online stuff, your phones to charge them. I would recommend just something smaller that you could use for those 5 hours out of power.
Lisa would like to know, I live in Canada. Hi, our Canadian viewers. The cost of food is going up every year. I have limits on what I can eat for health, which is challenging since the cost of healthy food is more expensive. How do you keep a balance and have enough to last till the next payday? All right, here's my best advice. And I've given this advice to multiple people who have specific eating patterns that they need to maintain, and they're a little bit more costly. You need to make a list of all the basic foods that you can eat that fit within the parameters for health-wise what you can eat. Then you need to prioritize that list and put the least expensive items at the top of that list. So you'll always be able to look at that list and go, these are the main things that I know I need to be looking for, because I can always make my food out of these ingredients and they're going to be okay and they're going to fit what the doctor has asked me to do. Then you're going to look for those items on sale, and you're going to look to see if there are sales cycles on those specific ingredients. So you know if it goes on sale and it's a really great price, you're going to stock up on it at that point and try to buy enough until it will last until the next sales cycle. The next thing I would tell you is make as much from scratch as you can. And I know that's a lot, particularly if you like gluten-free. Our son's girlfriend is celiac, and we've discovered that, we keep specific foods like in the freezer, and we're like, this is Sky's, nobody touch it, because those are foods that we know that she can eat. But when she comes over, family dinners have gotten really interesting because we have the plant-based eaters, we have the celiac, and then we have the meat eaters. Balancing everything has been really, really interesting. And what we tend to do is go toward those who have specific eating parameters. And we wind up, in general, eating most of the stuff. It will be plant-based and it will be okay for celiac. And we have found that we've had to hunt and poke around a little bit to be able to do that. But for us, it is so worth it to make sure that everybody in the family knows that they are welcome at our dinner table and they're going to be able to celebrate just the same as everybody else. But I've learned to make some things from scratch because of that.
Hannah Fisher asks, how do you budget? I have a hard time tracking my money because some things are auto pay and some things are cash. How would you suggest tracking spending? Well, the first thing that we did was we just wrote it all down in a book. That was our start. Then Hope put it into a
spreadsheet.
A spreadsheet, and she went to the spreadsheet. And then we went to Dave Ramsey's site, which is Every Dollar. And that is a great way to track. And it has segments in there that you can use for auto pay, cash, or however you have to pay your bills.
The other thing we would say, and I know this is one of the questions coming up. I did pre-read that question. Someone wants to know, they just started being paid once a month, and it's like, this is a learning curve. It is. For years, Larry was paid once a month when he worked for PBS.
Yep.
And it was a little bit of a learning curve. One of the things we learned from the once a month payment cycle was that we needed to look at the due dates. And this has to do with the auto pay too. So they're going to pull that auto pay on the same date every month, right? You're going to look at all of those auto pays and you're going to spread them out throughout the month, because that's one of the keys to stretching everything, is to make sure that at the first of the month, you don't have 5 out of 7 bills being paid. And then you're like, holy cow, where's the rest of the money for the month? Spreading them out throughout the month equally really did help us to figure out how to make sure that we were keeping everything balanced and keeping everything paid. So we didn't wind up getting to the last 10 days of the month and thinking we're just about out of money.
Elizabeth asks a very interesting question. Did you ever go to one of those free dinners at restaurants where the person hosting said it was to learn about retirement, but was to really sell you an annuity? It's been a long time since we've been to one of those. We went a few years ago, and the food was good.
We enjoyed the free meal.
It
We
was
certainly
great, but we were kind of bored stiff waiting through all of that talk that they had to sell something. Now we just don't go to any of them because we're frankly not interested in spending our time doing that kind of thing.
We do get a lot of invitations for them.
We
Look,
do.
I say that's part of their advertising budget. If you want to know if I think it's ethical, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Go to their free presentation, enjoy their meal, and you have absolutely no obligation to buy their product. We just went to a showing of a movie that was all about retirement in 2025, which was really interesting. They'd done in-depth investigation of what retirement means in 2025. The film was fantastic. But they gave us free soda, they gave us free popcorn, and then of course they gave us the opportunity to connect with their firm, which we did. I met with one of their representatives, and frankly, it just wasn't.
Wasn't a good fit.
Yeah, it was not a good fit for us at
No, it
all.
wasn't a good fit.
And so, it was fine to go to the event and to have not purchased anything that they were selling.
Thankful Land Thrifty asks, my biggest struggle is my giving category. We tithe to our church, but then also budget another 3% to charitable causes on top of that. But I always go over. It's hard for me to say no when there's so much need and we have the money. How do you balance this in your budget? Well, the first thing that I would tell you that we would do is we stick to the amounts that we say we're going to be able to do. But if you have extra money in your budget for this and you have the ability to help other people, maybe you should raise that 3% up a little bit so that you can supply whatever you feel comfortable with. And frankly, this is a really good category. I would never suggest that you eliminate it. This is a wonderful thing to be able to do with the money that you have.
I'll share this because we've shared it before, so I'll share it again. We do tithe 10%
Yes.
off the top of everything.
Right off the top.
And then we have, for the past 25 years, we have had what is called our Widows and Orphans Fund. Because we had a friend who was widowed very young. She was 34. She was 6 months pregnant with their fourth child.
Really
and her
sad.
husband passed away very suddenly from leukemia. And so we supported her throughout the first few years of her widowhood. We helped purchase bulk food for her to get through the winter.
Yes.
And that experience alone, and I will tell you this, if you're going to do something like this, share it with your kids. Tell your kids what you're doing, not because you want to brag on yourself, but because you want to tell them this is how provision is made.
Right.
This is the plan for provision. As you find someone, God lays on your heart, this is what we're going to do, and you make sure that you do it and do it well. And we did. And she got to a point where she didn't really need our help at some point. Her kids were getting older. She went back to work. And since then, we have kept the category. And it is such a joy to us to really pray and ask the Lord to lead us to people who need our help and to be able to do it. And if we can do it anonymously, it's even more fun. But yeah, we definitely have a fair share of money that we give away, and we have helped fund several adoptions. So that's been really, really an awesome experience for us.
And let me add this just as a side note. We don't like to support a lot of national funds because a lot of that money is not necessarily going to where you think it is. A lot of it's going to support their ad campaign and so on. A lot of the people that they have working for them. And that's okay. I mean, that's what you have to do when you have that kind of a campaign going. We would prefer to support local people that we know or somebody that we know that knows someone else and do it that way. So we know for sure where our money is going and that it's really going to help someone.
If you want to know where your money's going, I think the organization is called ECFA. It's the Evangelical Committee for Financial Accountability. I think that's what it is. And they will list national organizations and what percentage of your gifts go toward fundraising and salaries and things like that, and what percentage of your gift is going directly toward the cause that you are supporting. There are some organizations that do an amazing job at supporting their causes and still providing a living wage for the people who work for them. And I think that's important, but that is a place that you can look.
Emily asked this question. I love that. I love these triple names. How have you handled disappointments when you're saving for something special and life gets in the way and you have to cancel the dinner trip or vacation in order to pay for an emergency. Well, I've sat down and cried. I mean, I'll admit it. I've filled up a pillow with wet tears because we couldn't do something. We had this happen to us. It's been years ago. Our car went bad. And we bought another car, an old stationary. It was an old station wagon, and it had a special kind of carburetor that was very difficult to work on. We had a shop work on it. They messed it up even worse. So the trip that we had planned, we had to cancel it. We finally got our trip down to just visiting at a local park, and then we ran into a bunch of bees there, and it just wasn't anything good about that trip. So things do just happen. The next year, we really made up for it. So I think that's the best thing you can do is just keep your money going, keep saving, and look at the next year for that trip that you wanted to do.
You got to look at it and say, you know what? Life happens.
It
What
does.
was weird, I mean, it wasn't just the car, you guys. It was like one thing would happen and we'd go, okay, that's probably it. We went from like, what, a 7-day trip or a 10-day trip. And we're like, okay, now it's a 7-day trip. And then something else happened. We went, okay, it's a 4-day trip. And then it just kept getting worse and worse.
Oh, gosh.
And it was like a whole bunch of budget categories. I'm like, what is going on here?
But what's interesting is many years later, as a family, we ended up doing the trip that had gotten canceled. So it did finally come around.
Redemption. That's what that was.
Yes.
That was redemption, people. Anna Laura Brown, health coach, wants to know, what would you buy if you could and you haven't because it's too expensive in your opinion? I don't know. We would.
A Porsche. I'd get a Porsche. Yeah.
The joke in our family is every time, this is a true story, every time a male in Larry's family hit age 50, they would buy a red Miata. Larry turned 50, and I'm like, so are we buying a red Miata? What are you doing here? And he said,
I bought a bicycle.
I bought a bicycle. So he bought that's just the difference, folks, between like what they really wanted in their budget and what we really wanted in our budget. He was super happy. He rode that bike for a really, really long time.
I rode it a long time. Yeah.
Pamela wants to know, I've been encouraged by your videos. We're really glad about that. And when we say that, we're really being honest, guys. One of my standard responses to people is we are honored to be a part of your journey. And we want you to understand that we really, truly mean that. We are honored to be a part of every one of your journeys.
Absolutely.
My question is, what would be the average sinking fund envelope for the average single person? Well, I mean, I think it depends on your budget, right? It depends on your income. Sinking funds can be used for a number of things. And I just think they're a handy tool in your frugal toolbox to be able to pay for things as they come due. We probably have 13, 15 sinking funds. Even to this day, they change throughout the years because now we graduated our last son in May, so I'm no longer homeschooling.
And each sinking fund is based on the need.
Yeah.
How much do we need in that fund to fund next year? We do it for a year. So we'll save up the previous year sinking funds for the next year. That's how we've approached that.
And if you can't get a year ahead on sinking funds, you need to figure out how you can get a little bit ahead on each sinking fund, like a month or 2 months ahead. Once you start to get the ball rolling, then it's easier to keep ahead of where and when you're going to need those sinking funds. But it depends on your goals and it depends on the money that you have coming in.
That's right.
And you need to forecast that need and figure out how much you need to set aside every month to meet that need.
It's always easy to start small and work up. Cynthia has this question. Would you like to chat about how the price of coffee has doubled in the last 5 years or so and is predicted to rise another 50%? If we couldn't afford the coffee component of Coffee Chat, would it be Tea Talk? Or could we go directly to tap water and angst? Tap water could go up in price too.
Okay. So I don't know. Can we have Coffee Chat without coffee? Truthfully, so I know that was, I just roared laughing when that question came in. We have had serious conversations in our household about our coffee habit. No joke. We have actually cut down.
We have cut down about a half of what we were brewing.
Brew half the amount of coffee now that we did 6 months ago.
I enjoyed my coffee.
Clearly. Misty wants to know, I'm debt-free, whoop, whoop, but still very frugal. Yes, so are we. I hate wasting money. I do too. Wasting food, that's my other pet peeve. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, waste is just not
Ask
good.
any of my grown kids. We were like, so waste is the problem and the solution is practical frugality. Am I right, people? The solution to waste is to adopt practical frugality.
Yeah.
How do you handle loosening up on frugality? My family will comment, you have more money. Why does it matter? And I feel like they think I'm just plain cheap. Well, first of all, your family only needs to know what you choose to tell your family. And you don't owe them an explanation all the time when you say, yes, I can participate in that, or
right.
no, I'm going to pass this time. And this is the only caveat that we would say, don't say no every time. Because sometimes you'll hurt your family's feelings, and it's not so much that they want you to spend the money as they want you to spend your time with them. They want you. And if you say no every single time, it could be that you'll inadvertently create a divide that you don't intend to create in the first place. So if you're going to say no, then, maybe offer an alternative. No, you know what? I'm going to pass. I won't meet you for dinner, but I would love to have y'all come to my house. I'll put on some light jazz music. I'll brew a pot of coffee. Let's have some fun. We'll play cards, we'll play games or whatever. Give them some other opportunities to spend some time with you where it just doesn't involve the restaurant.
And between Hope and I have a lot less trouble loosening up money to spend. I can do that without any problems at all.
Yeah, and I'm the one that's like, no, I don't think so. That's why when the coffee pot broke, he said, I think we're going to have to look for a new coffee pot. I said, I think you just need to use that little 4-cupper. And I feel like that's going to work just fine because we already have a coffee pot. It's just much smaller than the one you were using.
And what's interesting, what we found is that little coffee pot brews coffee in about 9 minutes. It'll brew a pot so quickly. I love that thing now. Miss Social Deb says, how do you deal with big increases in utilities and such? I'm not sure how people can continue to keep up with all the increases everywhere, not just utilities. This is a challenge, and we approach it as a challenge. Yep. We look at everything that we're doing in regards to utilities and think, how can we cut back on how much power that we're using? And so we've cut it a lot out on air conditioning this year because air conditioning costs quite a bit. Hope could tell you what it costs per day. Is it like 9 kilowatts?
For us? Oh, it's between, every day we have our air conditioning on. I've tracked it. It's between $5 and $7 every single day.
$5 and $7.
But running a fan is 1 to 2 cents per day.
Real cheap.
It's incredibly inexpensive to run a fan. So we raise our air conditioning up and then we sit with fans on us in a room. There are so many different ways that you can deal with utilities. And believe me, first of all, we understand because our utility company raised our summer rates by 50% for the entire summer. And then they came out with a statement and said, but your bill's only going to go up 18 to 22%.
No, that's not good math.
That's not even based in any sense of reality.
No.
Because I have heard from countless people, and I'm not joking, who have written to me privately and said, I'm dealing with $400, $500. Somebody else had a $700 utility bill over the summer. So these aren't just little adjustments that you can make. We have done several videos on this topic recently because we just sort of looked at each other and I said, well, Larry, they say it's going to go up 18, 20 to 22%. We looked at each other and went,
no,
I don't think so.
No.
Because we just weren't willing to pay it. So here's the key, a couple of keys. You have to be willing to look at your own behavior. You have to be willing to make changes. You have to know what are you doing throughout the day that is raising the cost of that utility. And everybody always talks about this lamp back here. Guys, he worked in television, I worked in radio. In broadcasting, you have fill lights. Now you see the shadows on us and you don't see that when you turn these on. That's why that light is back there. They usually have the fill lights down lower and you're not really aware that they're there. Our fill lights behind us. And that's why that lamp is always on in every single one of our videos because it helps keep shadows off the back of the wall. That's why it's on. But I digress. You have to understand, what are you doing that is raising the cost of your utility bill?
Yes.
Is there something you can cut back on? Are you unplugging everything that you're not using when it is not in use? Anything that is instant on power that has a remote to it, it's using a certain amount of wattage. Phantom power.
Yeah.
People don't think it makes that much difference, but statistically, it's between 10 and 14% of your bill every single month. It depends on how many items you have plugged in. Yep. When you start unplugging items, theoretically, you're going to see that bill drop because you're not using that phantom power anymore. There are lots of things that you can do that control the cost of that utility bill. Now, our goal, I'm going to tell you, because there's a video coming up toward the end of the month. Our bill was for 3 months of the summer to drop our overall usage by 20% and to drop our final bill over that 3-month period by 10%. And it is really close, really, really close as to whether we're going to make it or not. So we'll chronicle that and we'll tell you how we did.
How you live in your home has a lot to do with how much power you'll use. Shut all the lights off anywhere that you can that you're not using it, rather than leaving them on at night just for convenience. If you have to go to the bathroom, shut all the lights in the hallway off after you're done wherever you go. So we try to really keep the lights down to a minimum. Last night we were sitting and Hope was looking over that budget in the utility area, and she was kind of grousing about us spending a little extra money. I said, we don't have to watch TV tonight. Let's just leave the TV off. I'll use my little 7-watt light bulb and I'll read a little bit of a book that I'm reading. And that's what we did. We went upstairs and I read that book and she read her book, and we didn't use much power at all. So there's definite decisions that you can make in order to save money.
And I'm just going to throw this out there. Shameless plug. You can get every single one of our tips on saving on utility bills in one place. It's our home energy savings guide, and I'll leave a link for it in the description of the video. I'm going to ask Daniel to answer this question because I want to know how soon he and his girlfriend Sky started talking about money and frugality. Dan, are you ready for the question? This is a viewer question. The question is, when is the best time to tell a new date that I'm frugal? I want to ensure compatibility. Thank you.
So I don't remember when it came up in conversation. And so I called my girlfriend just now and asked her, and she doesn't remember either. So it emerged at some point, obviously. But, I'd say probably the earlier the better.
So how important was that to you guys, that you were on the same page with money?
Money is the number one reason for divorce. So, yes, that's pretty important.
How have you navigated some of that? Because there were some differences.
We don't really go out that often, especially not out to eat. If we are going to do a trip, we'll do like a day trip or something. Earlier this summer, we did a, day trip to a place an hour away. It was fun. We had some painting. We bought some small things there. It was nice.
So you have figured out how to do fun things. They have fun, but they don't spend a lot of money.
We do a lot of hanging out.
Because that you are, in essence, still a poor, broke college student.
Yes,
that
is correct.
For another two years, you are a poor, broke college student. And then you are going to do what for a living?
Get married?
No, that is not for a living. That is not for a living. What are you going to do?
Teach high school is the goal.
Yeah, so English Lit, and his minor is in creative writing. And he has 2 more years to go. Thanks for hanging out with me and answering that question.
It was great.
All right, bye. You can go back upstairs, do whatever it was that you were doing.
Do I get coffee?
Do you get coffee?
You can have some.
Look, the boy wants to be paid in coffee. I don't even know what this is. All right, next question is, hello, did you do the debt-free scream on Dave Ramsey's show?
No, because we went debt-free before Dave Ramsey was even popular. We went debt-free as a part of Larry Burkett's programs. So that was way before that. I don't know how many years it was, but we were already debt-free when we started watching Dave.
Well, so for reference, we paid off our first home mortgage in February of 1998. Look, he got his coffee. He got his coffee. It's making him happy. All right. It takes so little to make him happy, too. which is a good thing, because being a teacher, he's not going to make a lot of money. No, so we did not do our debt-free scream on Dave Ramsey's show, but it's on our bucket list to go there, guys. We want to meet Dave and the crew, like pretty much all of them. That's our bucket list. One of the things on our bucket list.
Debbie asks a very important question. I lost my husband not too long ago. We're very sorry to hear
Yes, we
that.
are.
And lost over half of the household income. What are the biggest things to try to reduce my monthly, yearly expenses? Well, Debbie, what we would tell you to do is, obviously there are things you can't reduce. There are expenses you have to pay, like your home taxes, your insurance on your car, and so on. Those don't change. But anything in your budget that is, I would say, optional, you should take a look at all of those things that you could reduce or even take off of your plate. And Hope, what would you suggest as far as how she should go about that?
One of the best pieces of advice my mother got when she was widowed. She was widowed at the age of 42. My dad was 47 when he passed away. And one of the best pieces of advice anybody ever gave her was don't make any really big financial decisions for the first 12 months. It takes a little while to get your footing. It takes a while to figure out what that new normal is going to look like, what it's going to feel like. Give yourself some time to settle. In the meantime, go ahead, go back to that bare bones budget, figure out what you need for food, clothing, transportation, and what you need to keep a
Shelter.
roof over your head for shelter.
Shelter.
Figure out those things that are encompassing in your bare bones budget, and then just sort of look at everything else as you can't necessarily set it all to the side, but figure out what's most important to you. Make sure you have a prioritized budget so those really important things get paid first, and then work your way down the line to the things that are less important. But give yourself grace, give yourself time, and make sure that you're not making huge financial decisions right away.
If you'd like to watch a really interesting video where Hope and I do a rant, that was our last coffee chat, and we'll put that right over there. And I would make 12 and a half pots. I'd make... We really drank a lot of coffee.
A lot of coffee, 144 cups a day.